Hello, 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 and welcome to another Survivor Debrief exit interview. And today we are so very lucky to have the man, the myth, the legend, spoiler alert, the winner of Brains versus Brawn II. Miles, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations, first of all, my friend.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here. This is crazy. It's unbelievable. The winner? What the hell? Me? No,
No,
it's awesome.
it's
I'm so
great.
happy. It's cool.
How are
Yeah.
you feeling today? Obviously, you had big party last night. I saw everyone was there. How was that? How's the reaction? How's it all been?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. Our cast is pretty close, and so it was actually really good kind of hanging out with everyone, some of the ex-players and everything. And it's just surreal, It's just surreal. I can't believe it's gone from this thing that it's just been like coming, 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 and now it's here, and it's like, oh my God, this is insane. This is exactly everything you could possibly dream of.
It's so good. First of all, just tell the guys, what was your casting journey like? How did that process come about for you?
Yeah, so I actually applied for your season last year. I put in a very funky, well-edited, fancy video, and I got absolutely nothing. And so this year, I put in another video, and where it was literally just unlike the first one, it was me just talking to a camera for 3 minutes and just introducing myself. And apparently that worked. And I got a call back pretty quickly. I got pretty fantastic feedback all throughout the casting process. I'm saying we're really liking you, really liking you. And then when I saw the theme was Brains versus Brawns, it was right. It was about 2 weeks before my in-person interview, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is my theme. This is
Yeah.
my theme. I am the Brains tribe representative." But yeah, I was that was when I first started taking it pretty seriously when I saw the theme come out. And yeah, I had a great in-person interview, got really good feedback there. And then like 3 days later, I was told, "Hey, start getting ready, start getting your all your medicals and all your forms signed and everything." So yeah, I had a pretty direct I had a pretty direct path to getting cast, I think, compared to some people. But yeah, it was really good.
Loved it. Loved it. Now, strategy wise, what was your strategy going out to the island before you left? And then how did that change once you got out there?
So my strategy going out there was I wanted to focus on building really strong connections, playing a bit lower key, and then striking at key times, right? So I wanted to have maybe three to four like critical moves that I could say these were the moves that I
Yeah.
made. And for the rest of it, kind of slide a bit under the radar. And then I got out there and I immediately ended up on the bottom of the Brains tribe, and all of that went out the window straight away. And so the first half of the game is me just relentlessly fighting to stay alive. And then the second half of the game is me going, screw it. I should have been gone like 1,000 times in the last month. And so I'm just going to blow everything up and deal with the consequences afterwards. Yeah, so there was a big disconnect between my plan going out there, my meticulous little plan going out there, and then what I actually did. But I think my hand was a little bit forced there. I think I was forced to play a bit harder than a lot of people just by virtue of ending up on the bottom a lot.
Yeah, it definitely felt like, yeah, you had two games. You had that from the bottom, really struggling, trying to get through at the start. And then at the end, you sort of got your feet under you. And I think you touch on something there. It's that freeing aspect of, well, I could have already gone home. So everything now is a bonus. So I might as well just go crazy. And sometimes people don't get that. They don't have that sort of fear of God in
Mm.
them, and they just sort of play sort of
Yeah.
safe for as long as possible. So I think that worked really well for your game. I think it was really good, mate. Sure.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest advantages that AJ and I had all throughout the game is that AJ and I think, were the two people out there the most who just weren't afraid to get voted out and weren't afraid of
Yeah.
shit going wrong. And
Yeah.
I especially, I had this mentality where after day 4, when I survived that second vote, I was like, I'm playing with house money here. Like, I am just happy to be here. And if anything goes wrong, well, I should have been voted out on day 4. And so it's fine. And so I was genuinely never afraid of getting voted out. And so it does give you a freedom to
Yeah.
play a lot harder. And you can see it at a vote like the Rocks vote, where AJ and I like are genuinely down for whatever happens,
Yeah.
and where if we get rocked out, we get rocked out. But this is the correct play versus the girls. I think were playing a little bit more scared there, right? Playing a bit more protective of their games, and that gave us the advantage. It gave us the upper hand. I think
100%.
there was a lot of that. The PD move is probably a bit of that as well, where I can make this big move that could have totally blown up in my face. But if it blew up in my face, who cares? It was one vote before jury. I get a nice little vacation on the jury villa.
See, that was my mistake. I'd made my move the one before getting on the
One
jury, so I didn't
before,
get that. I
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I know.
Oh no, you needed
Damn
to
it.
wait one more.
I know, I know. If you can, you've talked a few of your little moves there, but if you could, maybe what do you think was the defining move of your season for you? Something that really put you in a good spot, and maybe what was something that you felt didn't go right for you?
So I think I've got an interesting answer for this one. I think at the vote where Rich gets sent over to the other side early on in Brains, I was starting to get courted by pretty much all areas of the tribe, and I just made a decision based on the read that I had of the tribe. Zara and Karen are the people I want to lock in with, and I think we can form a really good group with the graduates essentially. And so I fed Zara and Karen all of the information that was coming into that tribe because I had all the information. Rich was telling me about the bomb squad stuff. Laura was telling me her plans, and then I was bringing it all back to Zara and Karen. And actually, I had a very funny thing where Laura was struggling with that decision, and she'd be like, Miles, what do I do? I've got Rich on one side, I got the girls on the other side, and I'm trying to balance it all. I'm like, is Rich giving you good information? She's like, yeah, Rich is giving me great information. Like, he's very loyal. And I'm like, well, protect your man Rich, keep your man in the game. And then I go around to Zara and Khan and be like, is Laura still protecting Rich, that guy? We're sick of it. Come on, let's get him out. But that vote solidified the alliance that I think carried me through the entire game, being the graduates. And that vote was the one that really kind of locked us all in together. And then obviously the alley vote coming after that. But it was the work that I specifically did on that Rich vote out that I think set me up for the entire rest of the game. As far as what didn't go very well, Final Five was an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
Final Five, oh my God, could
Yeah.
not have gone worse. I took a big swing and I completely missed and I fell onto my face and then somehow turned it into a backflip the next vote by winning immunity. But if I don't win immunity at 4, I'm gone because Zara has just completely played me to the bottom of the tribe. Like she knifed me in the back, shoved me in front of a bus and went, okay, see you later.
I honestly felt that. I was talking about Zara's plan
Yeah.
on the podcast, and it did feel like the only thing that could go wrong for her in that situation was you winning
If I
immunity.
win
And
immunity.
that's exactly what you
And
did.
and if I win immunity against the best challenge competitor in the history of Australian Survivor as well, it's
That
like
cha-
there's no way Mars is going to win immunity. Caitlin has won every single immunity so far.
that challenge, it really shows, and this is something that sometimes get talked about, but when you really, really need it, when
Yeah,
someone is like, I am dead in the water now, and if I don't win this, I'm gone, it
yeah,
can take you to another level and it can push you to that thing. And that
yeah.
challenge, I think that challenge win for you then, when you really needed it, that was your game. That was
That
everything
was
coming
it was
together. And it
everything. Yeah.
was, oh, dude, it was
Yeah.
a
And
really
it was
great
it
win.
was I got really lucky as well that it was essentially the only 3 things in the world that I'm better than Kaylin at, being climbing, throwing, and then little technical hand-eye coordination things. And so it's like, let's just put the things that Miles is best at physically into one challenge and make it our Final Four challenge, which was
It was, it,
fantastic for me, obviously.
it was sort of Slumdog Millionaire, all these parts of your life coming
Yeah.
together to help you win that
Yeah, yeah,
challenge.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. Um, Now you've mentioned a few little things that I wanted to sort of drill down on a bit more, if that's cool. So
Yeah.
one of obviously is the graduates, and you started
Yeah.
to sort of tell us a little bit about how that actually started. But then that's with the girls. But then how did AJ and Kaylin sort of all come in there, and how did it coalesce into a group? And then why did you guys work so well as a group?
Well, AJ, Kalen, and I were already really close
Yeah,
coming
okay.
into that. And so it was about kind of whether we ended up going with the bomb squad or going with the girls. And AJ was pushing to go with the bomb squad a bit, and I was pushing really hard to go with the girls because Zara and Karen were obviously going to crack on the cover. Like
Yeah.
they were getting so cranky with Laura and Logan about Rich things. So I'm like, these girls are not solid. We need to lock in with them, and we're not going with Rich and Max, these crazy bomb throwing hooligans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but AJ, Kayla, and I had a fantastic relationship. Those were two of the people who really early on the Brains tribe were two of the only people who really kind of gave me a lot in the game, right? Like they were strat chatting. They were two of the only people that were strat chatting with me aggressively early. They made a big effort to try and keep me in the game. And they just like were always really lovely and were really nice to me in a way that I really appreciated. And we just got along fantastically. Yeah.
That's so good, mate. And what was the secret to keeping you four together, or five
Oh,
originally,
yeah.
but then obviously Karen dropped off. But
I
you
mean,
four, yeah,
yeah, well, the thing was is that I don't think we did that great job at staying together, but we were great at coming back together, right?
yeah,
Like we kind of came in and out. And what it was, and this was kind of the idea of the graduates, is let's just get like kind of five pretty rational players together who can play the game logically together. And like Zara and Karen are both really smart game players. AJ's a smart game player. Kaylin's a smart game player. And so we're five people who can figure out when it's in our own self-interest to work together. And that's what we did is we realized like, okay, Final Eight is obviously the best example. But there were various points throughout where it worked, where we just worked together because even if we were like annoying the hell out of each other, that's what made sense. And that's what made sense to keep doing. It was also like probably five of the more threatening game players in the season as well. So it was a
mm,
really good match with regards to threat level versus like AJ and I had a really good relationship with Kate and Morgan, but I was always worried about going deep into the game with Kate and Morgan because they just weren't seen as big threats. So there was a big mismatch between like say an AJ and I and a Kate and Morgan.
mm.
But with people like Karen and Kaylin and Zara, like these were people that people saw as very threatening. And so they were a great group of shields. They were a great group of logical players that you could work with. And that's why it just all worked so perfectly. It's just like it was a bunch of smart players who could kind of work together and figure out what the logical path was.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's probably what ended up dooming Kalen in the end because he didn't have that
Yeah.
person that he could definitely beat at the end to sort of bring along. And I think AJ sort of summed that up perfectly when like you guys were his strategic shields, and then you've got to
Yeah.
get rid of those shields at some point. And unfortunately, he didn't quite do that. With speaking about AJ as well, you had a really interesting relationship with him. You sort of came together when you were both at the bottom of the Brains tribe,
Yeah.
and then he seemed to have some information, and you guys had idols, and you sort of worked together with a lot of those
Yeah.
decisions. Just want to talk for a minute
Yeah.
about your relationship with AJ.
Yeah, my relationship with AJ was fantastic. He was first of all just the person I got along best with out there. But it
Yeah.
was one of the main people like he was more than anyone out there just willing to play the game the way that I wanted to play the game, which was big, which was hard, which was chaotically. Like AJ and I weren't afraid to take risks and we weren't afraid to make big moves, which was fantastic. He's also just wicked smart and his social game is so much better than mine as well. Like he's so much better at keeping everyone on side than I am. And so he put in a lot of work. Like there was a lot of times where I was probably in a bit of trouble, and AJ kind of had to smooth some things over. But it's just you want to people are often scared of like of people who are really big threats who are really strong players, but you shouldn't be. You should want to have strong players aligned with you because the strong players will bail you out of situations. It happened a bit with Laura and Zara on Brains 2.0 where they really like made the crack in the Brawn because they're both have brilliant social games. And
Mm.
then it happened a lot with AJ all throughout the game where his social game he's able to like keep me in the game, use me as a big shield, use me to take all the bullets, but then also be making moves behind. It's why I told him about my idols every single time because like
Yeah.
if he thinks that he can if he thinks that I'm his number one, which I was, but if he thinks like I'm his ride or die, I completely trust him in everything. And I'm showing him that I trust him by telling him about these idols. And he has way more information than I have because his connections were a lot better than mine. Then he's going to keep me in the game. He's going to tell me when to use the idols correctly. He's not going to try and flush the idols, which he didn't, and he probably should have. And he's just going to fully trust me, and that's what you want. So we had a phenomenal relationship, and it worked absolutely perfectly. Our personalities, how we work together.
Yeah, it was funny. He did seem to have a blind spot for you and
Yes.
Kalen in terms of he never saw you coming after him at Final Five. He just never saw that coming. And it was really interesting to him trying to recalibrate that and go like, oh, hang on a minute, rah, rah, rah. And I just think you guys
Yeah.
worked so well as a team. And the fact that you separated a bit and you seem to be not going for each other and then going for each other. And I think that sort of clouded the sky for everyone else. They didn't really see you guys so powerful together.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Totally.
Final four,
Mm.
going to fire. Was this ever something that you were thinking about, like the Zara AJ going to fire? Or because we were sort of talking about it, and it really, all it does at that point in the game is just gives AJ or Zara just something else on their resume. It doesn't really help you that much. Was that ever sort of in your brain to go to fire? Just maybe as a fan, making them go to fire?
So I was thinking about it because I did still think like me going to the final three with Zara and AJ would sorry, me going to the final three with Zara and Kaylin would have been a good final three for me, especially after Zara has made that move because Zara saw Kaylin as a really big threat because AJ and I got in her ear a lot about Kaylin being like, look at
Yeah.
the jury all loves Kaylin. Kaylин's this
Yeah.
physical beast, he's a golden boy, everyone loves him. And so Zara was much more worried about Kaylin than she was about me. And Kaylin, like, Zara's just made this crazy move, and Kaylin didn't really like he didn't think I had that great a game, and especially he thought I'd poison the jury really hard, which I'd been every
Yeah.
time I did something that annoyed a jury member, I'd be like, "Oh, Kaylin, I did the stupidest thing." I was really getting in his ear about that. And so a final three of me, Zara, and Kaylin is pretty good because I got these two competitive like challenge beasts who both probably want to take me to the end
That's
against
what it
each
felt
other.
like. Yeah.
Now,
That's
the problem is that I need Zara to beat AJ in fire to do that. And as much as like AJ also wasn't that great at fire, I don't think Zara was ever beating AJ at fire.
No.
And so and even if she does beat AJ in fire, then I potentially give her another move on her resume.
Yeah.
And in the world where at this stage, I'm like, I think Kaylin is probably my best route to final two. I don't want to like spook Kaylin. I don't want to do something that just like that blows off Kaylin's trust with me, especially if I assume AJ is probably going to win against Zara. Zara gets sent home, but I've just like
Yep.
betrayed Kaylin's trust
That's what I
again.
thought.
When my whole thing, one of the big things about my final five move is that I wanted to kind of have a bit. My backup was always going to be to pitch to Kaylin. Kaylin, you thought I was coming for you. I
I
actually
wasn't.
wasn't. It was a
Yeah.
big distraction. I was coming for AJ. Let's go to final two. And so it was just I at that stage I was like, okay, I think I just need to lock in and just hope that Caitlin takes me to final two here.
Yeah, and it worked, and it is like it everything sort of fell into place for that. I think
Mm.
what you and AJ were doing, especially building up Kalen, that became really obvious that in his head he probably felt, yeah, I have won all these immunities. I'm in this really good spot. Everyone likes me, and ultimately getting him to the point where he thought he could bring some people to the end and ultimately win. But I do want to talk about the Final Trouble Council now. So
Yeah.
was that your optimal person to have at the end? Was it Kalen at that point? Or was there someone else in maybe the final six that you thought, nah, I've got a really good shot taking this person?
I was very happy sitting next to anyone that wasn't AJ.
Yeah, great.
Anyone from
Yep.
Final Nine on, I wouldn't have been comfortable sitting next to Karen either, but anyone from Final Nine onwards that wasn't AJ, I was very happy to sit next to. I thought I beat all of them at the end. And one of the things that I'm actually proudest of is I think I had a fantastic read of the jury in a way that I think a lot of people didn't. A lot of
Yeah.
people thought it was going to be a very bitter jury. A lot of people
Mm.
thought that. And my read, and AJ actually, I think, had this read as well, but our read was I think this is going to be a very bitter jury, and everyone who keeps on facilitating AJ's and Miles's moves, right? Everyone's going to be bitter at everyone for letting AJ and Miles get through. They're not going to be
Yeah.
bitter at AJ and Miles. And especially, there were a whole heap of things that like kind of poisoned the jury in everyone's eyes, but I thought weren't as big of a deal as a lot of other people thought. So the first was, and this is, I think, one of my coolest moves of the entire season, and it's a shame that like they didn't show my little confessional about this. After Laura got voted out, Morgan made a joke that'd be really funny if I wore her tracksuit to the next tribal council. And Logan goes, Miles, don't. It's going to make her really upset. I thought at that point, I had Laura's jury vote locked in. And I'm like, Laura's a big game player. She probably going to get really pissed off by me wearing a jumper, but she's not going to let that cloud her vote at the end. I wore Laura's tracksuit to the next tribal council. And everyone thought I had completely poisoned the first jury member. And it's something that multiple people brought up to me after,
Yeah.
like, Miles,
Wow.
what are you doing? But at that stage, I was like, I've just made this crazy big move. I need to worry about threat management. And so I deliberately like poisoned a juror with the idea of keeping my threat level low. And then if you look at the next people who go to jury, Paulie had as much as a lot of people thought Paulie would be a vote for me, but Paulie, I'd really pissed off Paulie by being one of the votes that sent him to the Baron tribe, and everyone knew that I'd pissed
Oh,
off Paulie. Now, I knew, well, not I knew, but I hoped that I had enough goodwill saved with me saving him that he'd be able to
Yeah.
overlook that and I'd have a good pitch for him. But a lot of people were like, okay, Paulie's not a lock vote for Miles. And then you got next is Karen, and Karen was getting really frustrated playing with AJ and I, and everyone knew about it. And to the extent that she was trashing both of our games at times quite publicly to people. And I knew about it. And I know Karen. I know Karen. She's a bit of a hothead, but she's lovely and she's got a lot of respect for the game. And so again, this is another one where I'm like, Karen's not going to vote based on her. Like, she's actually, Karen respects both of our games a lot. She's just getting annoyed as hell playing with us. And so I think Karen's going to play quite rationally, but everyone's heard Karen just like trashing my game and AJ's game. Next up to the jury is Logan, who Logan and I never had a good relationship. And something that they didn't show is that in Logan's like fierce arguing in that Rocks tribal, she goes, I would never vote for anyone that would go to Rocks,
Yeah.
and targeted at AJ and I, right? And we're like, AJ and I saw through it immediately. He's like, this is a ploy. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Logan's a big fan of the game. Logan respects us, like respects it immensely. We get back to camp. We're like, this is so unfair. Logan's not going to vote for
Yeah.
us at the end because of this Rocks thing. What the hell? And so what you've got this just like jury that looks like it's really negatively skewed against me, especially, and to a lesser extent AJ. And also, they're all jury members who are very close with Kaylin. But if you look at it, what it also is it's a brains jury, and it's a jury of fans. And that was the read that I had, is that it's the all brains jury that all like have a huge amount of respect for the game, and they're going to vote based on gameplay, and especially gameplay with like respect for the game, love of the game.
Yeah.
And that was the read that I had that made me really happy to sit next to anyone, that quite a few people didn't really have that read. And with me especially, did not think I was a big threat coming into Final Tribal because of that.
Yeah. Do you think the jury came in with pretty open minds, or do you think they came in going, like, was anyone
No.
swayed during the pitches, or do you think everyone was like, no, Miles definitely played the best game?
So I can tell you what I was thinking. I had a pretty good read going in of where everyone was going, and so Logan and Zara, you were locked in with me. Both of them were. Zara literally told me she was really upset by the final four vote, and on the way out, she tells me like, I'm going to put in a good word for you with the jury. And Logan's facial expressions gave away so much on the jury, and I was always watching the jury. I was feeling pretty good about Laura, Karen, and AJ. I wasn't like locked in with them, but I was feeling pretty good about them. Kristen, I did not think I was getting her vote because she and Kaylin were just incredibly close. She was like, I was like, okay, I think, and we never really played the game together, Kristen and I. She never really saw, like, we didn't really chat a lot. Like, she's a beautiful person, but we just never like clicked in the game. And so I was like, okay, I think Kaylin probably gets Kristen, and then Paulie and Kate, I thought would be the two that would probably be like more on the fence, which I was correct about. Both of them were like both of them were pretty open-minded going into Final Tribal, and then I just managed to say the right things to get their votes.
I think some of your great lines in there, I think you spoke with way more passion than Kaylin. I think you really wanted it, and you were really there for it. I think the fact that you said you survived and Kaylin just sort of cruised, I thought that was golden. And I feel the other thing that really stood out to me was you played from the bottom with a smile. And I think the jury really liked that. And you put in the self-deprecation, you owned your mistakes, you did all these things exactly how you should do them in the Final Tribal Council. And it just rolled out. It was so perfect, man. It was really good.
I think Final Tribal, more than anything, is where being a big fan and having watched a lot of the show is a huge. So Kalen's not a big fan. He hasn't watched a lot of like juries. He hasn't watched a lot of Final Tribals. And so I think there's an understanding about the different types of juries that exist, and then having the read of what type of jury is out. So I reckon with like the Brains versus Brawn 1 jury, Kalen probably wins that like every single day against me, right? But yeah, the understanding what the jury is, understanding what the jury wants, and understanding like what to say, what not to say, right? Like the classic, I knew a question like, what would you do differently was coming, because there's always a question like, what would you do differently? And what do you not answer to what do you do differently? You
nothing.
do not answer nothing. I know. And so I remember when he said that internally, I was like,
Yes.
But I think being a really big fan, having watched a lot of Final Tribal Councils, having listened to a lot of deep dives where people had talked about their Final Tribal Council speeches, and especially listening to jurors talk about
The
listening to other
perception, yeah.
Eileen's deep dive from last year was so helpful for that, like kind of understanding the psychology of the jury and what they're thinking going into final tribal, and how like the pitches can sway things. Yeah, it's having kind of an understanding of how you're perceived, how like what the jury's thinking, what they're voting on and whatnot. But yeah, I was lucky in that I do think I genuinely had a killer final tribal council
It
performance,
was good.
but it also probably didn't really matter. I think as long as I didn't really blow it all up, I had 5 pretty solid votes coming in anyway.
Yeah, and that's all you needed at the end of the day. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you wanted to share in terms of anything that didn't make the edit, just quickly at the end? I suppose we've talked a little bit about that. Or is there just something that what is the biggest thing you're going to take away from Survivor, besides the 500,000 and this title, Soul Survivor? Anything else?
The biggest thing I'm going to take away is definitely the mental resilience side of it. Like,
Yep.
I'm not someone who's had a lot. I'm very blessed that I haven't had a lot of like road bumps to overcome in my personal life, and so having to experience that where it was just this speed bump after speed bump after speed bump, and
Yeah.
me falling off the bloody track and everything, like and the way that I was able to kind of push through that all with a big smile on my face, even when I was exhausted. I had tinnitus. I had stress-induced tinnitus in the last week that I was in the game. I had a ringing in my ear nonstop, including when I was trying to sleep, for a week straight in the last week of the
No
game. And
way.
even at Final Tribal Council, I had that ringing in my ear the entire time. Like, I really pushed through. I lost like 12 kilos, and I did not have 12 kilos to lose. I
Oh,
did
dude.
not put enough weight
Yeah.
on going in. Yeah, the
Same,
skinny
mate.
fellas.
Skinny
Yeah.
bros coming out.
As
Yeah, I know. It's wild.
yeah,
Absolutely
as
wild.
far as stuff that didn't make the edit, the biggest one I think would have been Laura's in my relationship. Laura and I were extremely close out there personally,
Yeah.
and it didn't really blossom into much strategically in the way that I was hoping it would. It almost did with the PD vote. It almost did with like the Girls Gone Wild vote. But so Laura was the one that actually saved me at that first vote, where like Indy blew up her game, but the votes, like you would know, moving votes, a lot of votes last minute is really hard.
Yeah.
Laura, 15 minutes before council, goes around to every single person on the tribe and goes, okay, we're voting Indy now, we're not voting Miles, because Laura did want to work with me in the game. And we were really close. The main thing that just stopped me from working with Laura is that she was working a lot with Logan, Rich, and Max, who I wasn't working with and didn't
Yeah.
have much of a relationship with. So I was like, I want you in the game, but I can't work with the rest of your alliance. But Laura and I were extraordinarily close, and it was very unfortunate. And I was very sad about the way that she went home, because I just wanted to cut out Logan instead, which would have been way more convenient for me.
Yeah. Well, we're dragging to the end now. So one final question. Obviously, being a big movie fan, I would love to know, what is your favorite film, Miles?
I've been fiending for this question because I have such like a weird answer for
I
this.
love it.
I love and can quote almost line by line Pacific Rim. I think Pacific Rim is the greatest that the big kaiju movie like
Yeah.
energy will ever get. I think an Oscar-winning director who got told, make whatever you want. He was like,
Yeah.
I want to make big robots versus big aliens, and he made it at the most incredible level anyone's ever seen. I think it's an exceptional movie.
That is so good, mate. I absolutely love that response. Well, you're very unique. I love it that we've got a winner that's actually a big fan. We haven't had a winner that's been a big fan for a while.
Yeah,
So thank you. Take the torch, take the Soul Survivor title, wear it
thank
proudly,
you.
my friend. We're very supportive. We loved watching you out there. Probably one of the best journeys of one of our winners that we've seen,
Yeah,
in terms of the story told. So thank you so much, my friend. It's been a pleasure. And hopefully, if you're down in Melbourne, please come down and let's hang out. Thank you
yeah,
very much, mate.
yeah, totally.
See you, Miles.
Yeah, see ya. Bye.